All right, so what we're doing here today is each practitioner, for they just got their license last Saturday, they're going to describe what their journey has been, what this has meant to them, and how they have seen themselves grow. This is a moment of celebration, a moment of testimony, a moment where the human heart is open wide.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Tate, and I want to share the part of my journey that started when I joined Agape, which was, we have been coming to Agape since the second week Agape started. And probably maybe 4 months later after Agape started, Lee was looking for board members and had announced wanting board members. And something that had always driven my heart was a desire for connection with people. So in spite of being a little bit of an introvert, I stepped into my fear and I volunteered to be on the board. And to be on the board, you have to take foundations. And up to this point, I had not taken any religious science classes at all. So I committed to, of course, to be on the board to take a foundations class. Well, lo and behold, that class was held at my house. Board meetings started happening at my house. This is before we had the Jaeger Suites in Frisco. So I was creating my connection through the classes. I got to meet small groups of people, and I started learning the tools of religious science. So meditation's one of the first tools, right? And you go into classes and you start hearing people talk about, oh, I had this great deep meditation. I went into la la land. I cannot tell you how frustrated I would be when people would say that, because I'm very analytical. I plan things, right? And so to silence my mind was next to impossible. And so I used to beat myself up about it. But I finally learned for me to start good meditation was listening to guided meditations. So I listened to The Vortex, which has 15-minute guided meditations on 4 different topics, and that was very effective for me. And then over time, I started realizing that everybody's meditation is different, right? So I won't say that my meditation is bad, and I stopped judging myself against everybody else's meditation, because for me, meditation started showing up as colors. And it might sound different, but when I close my eyes and I get into that place of oneness, I see colors. And when I hear truth, it shows up for me as goosebumps. So got over the whole meditation issue and continued on in classes just because I wanted to learn more tools about how to improve my life. And guess what? Things started changing. But what was so interesting, too, along this path is when I started taking classes, I had zero desire to be a practitioner. None. As a matter of fact, there was one day, probably 4 or 5 years ago, that Lee came to my house. We were working on some financial thing for Agape, and he said, "You're going to be a practitioner one day." I can picture him, where we were standing and everything, because it was that impactful. And I said, no way. I have zero desire to be a practitioner. It's too much work. It's too much time. I have too much going on. I'm not interested in being a practitioner. Lo and behold, probably a year or 2 later, I'm taking a class. It's with Jean. It's at their home. There's an exercise to do visioning. It's guided visioning. So Jean is asking us questions, and we have this piece of paper next to us, and she'll ask us something, and we write down what we see. Well, guess what I see? Me being teaching and being a practitioner here. And needless to say, I broke down in tears as I'm sharing that story with Jean. I don't even know if she remembers that day, but it was pretty impactful for me. So that was kind of the start of my journey. And then all along through there, Lee talks about tithing. Oh, goodness gracious. Tithing, 10%? Are you kidding me? It petrified me. It literally petrified me. But I stepped in and slowly, maybe every 6 months I'd slightly increase my contribution, and found, oh, I can live on this money that's left. And today I tithe. But I had a ton of fear about it at first. So how quickly some demonstrations I've had, goodness gracious. Probably the biggest one, go back to my connection, right? Wanting to connect with people. We were living in a neighborhood in Plano, didn't know our neighbors very well. I wanted to feel like I was part of a community. So I decided that we would sell our house and move to an area where we would build a new house and create a community. And we put our house on the market. We had 3 offers the first day. We sold the house for more than it was listed for. Talk about abundance, right? Then we move into this community that is just phenomenal, and we connect with all kinds of neighbors and friends. I have the dream job that I've created over the last 8 years. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, but I know my fellow practitioners have other wonderful stories to share with you. But I just want to tell you it works. It's worked for me. The tools work. I apply them. And I love my life. I just love my life. So thank you.
I'm Gene Morrissey, and I came here for the first time about 6 years ago. And to let you know how far I have come in this journey, Susie drugged me here the first time. And on the way home, I declared, I don't like it. And so she drugged me here again. And I started softening up a bit. And I took my first class, and I quit in the middle of it. So I was a stubborn holdout for a while. When I first came here, I had a lot of issues going on, a whole lot having to do with the PTSD that I have as a result of my military experience. Been diagnosed as fairly severe PTSD, and I had all those kinds of things going on. I had hypervigilance, I had distrust of authority, I had, you think you got road rage? I had road rage. All those nightmares in the middle of the night. I would wake up screaming in the middle of the night. It would launch Susie off the bed and straight into the guest bedroom. And I was dealing with all those. I'd had psychotherapy and all that kind of stuff and medication for years and years, literally decades, with marginal improvement. But one time I ran into a guy who said, look at life as 2 levels. 2 levels of a house. The ground floor is this world that we see, this world that we function in, this world that we operate in. The upstairs is God's domain. And sometime to solve your problems, you have to go upstairs and operate from the spiritual level to make your life work the way you want it to. And that is a big part of what Agape teaches. And so since I have been with Agape, I've done classes, I've trained myself now to be a practitioner, and I have made a remarkable shift. Those nightmares that used to wake me up are still there. They're just dreams. Those behaviors that I have, those memories, those responses, all sorts of things that if I were in a war situation would be appropriate behavior, but they're inappropriate now. I have learned through the teachings here at Agape how to interdict before I just go off into craziness with it. And it is the most magnificent gift I could ever imagine. It is freeing. It is a wonderful way for me to shift out of my intellect. I have a very powerful intellect, and I used to depend on it very effectively, and it's still there, but I learned to let go of those defensive patterns that I had developed earlier in life and open my heart and learn to live out of my heart and to live for who I really am, live as who I really am. And that is a unique incarnation of God. And so through the classes and through daily spiritual practices, you'll hear Lee say this all the time, daily spiritual practices, it is an important key to what this is all about. I meditate, I pray, I do other spiritual practices daily, and they have amazingly transformed my life. And that's why I am here as a practitioner today at Agape, and I'm going to be around for a long time. And I invite you to, if you're not getting into classes, get into them. Get into daily spiritual practices because, by golly, they work. Thank you.
I'm learning things about these practitioners that I didn't know. And you'd think after 5 years I would know them better, but I do. And that is one of the benefits of the training program, is you develop and cultivate intimate relationships, and part of the training is that you have to have a prayer practitioner session weekly with your prayer bud, and Lee'll alternate that, so there's no hiding in this program. So my roots are, I'm a psych nurse, basically. Why does a nurse go into psych? Because it feels like home, okay? All right. The journey, sex, drugs, rock and roll, peace, love, and harmony. Okay, there's some stops along the way. Somewhere along my nursing path, I got into holistic nursing. So exposure to energy medicine and the healer within, and knowing that there is a higher power, that paved the way for me to find New Thought. And I pretty much went through what I call a New Thought divorce, because I don't have trauma or drama with my ex, and family's family. So we pretty much, I babysit for his new son, so I don't know what that tells you. But there is no discord, there's neutrality. So I've been dipped in a little bit of DeMartini. That's an influence. I've read enough of Deepak Chopra and the laws of attraction, and I've been to alien conferences. And okay, so let me pull it back in here. All right. So my spiritual practice is I take a daily walk with my daughter's dog, and I am very much connected to nature. I'm vegan and all pro-life. Life is evolution. And that's what this process of becoming a practitioner has been about, is evolving. So 4 job changes, that's right. Right now, I'm working a 3-day work week. I have Monday through Thursday off. I work in my jeans. I'm on the telephone, and I'm in my own apartment. The vibe is right, and that all came about through practicing the tools that we teach at Agape, which is prayer, meditation. I use my mala beads, forgiveness. I also do affirmations and release on many forms. So there's been physical, emotional, and mental release in this process. I've been through 2 somewhat family crises. If you're looking for a practitioner that can tell you to have the most loving, long-term relationship, I'm probably not there yet. I've got some visioning to do, but I definitely want to share my experience, and I have no problem going into altered state. I love that room of creativity, and I live life joyfully. Thank you, Conan. Thank you, Jimmy Fallon. Music is very healing to me. I'm all about vibration. And really, if you give me too much time with the microphone, I can start to, as you've already witnessed. But I welcome all new members. New Thought, maybe I could say it like this: 12-step washed my brain, but it prepared me for New Thought. And now that I have New Thought, the realm of possibility is unlimited. So I offer that encouragement for everybody to just kind of hang around in this agape soup, if you will, and become the meatball you've always wanted to be. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Susie Morrissey, and I want to tell you that when I started this journey over 6 years ago, I was not exactly living the life of my dreams. I had had breast cancer. I did not have work-life balance. I had a very stressful job, and I brought that stress home with me. So that meant that my relation with Jean was not particularly easy. And to top it all off, I had a scarcity conversation about money. Sounds like a great life, huh? Well, I have learned, first of all, I didn't even know that the spiritual laws we teach here existed, but when I learned about them and I started practicing them, I had started having shifts in my life. And now I would say that in all the areas I mentioned, I am living the life of my dreams, and you can too. You see, the spiritual laws that we teach are kind of like physical laws. Like, let's say gravity, for example. Gravity works if you've never heard of it, and gravity works if you don't believe in it. Well, the spiritual laws that we teach here are exactly the same. So I kind of said to myself, if I'm going to play a game and I want to win, I have to understand the rules. And the better that I understand the rules, the better chance I have of winning. And what did I have to lose to take the spiritual principles that we teach here as I learned them and apply them to my own life? Because I didn't really like the life I was living, and I wanted to make some shifts. So what I'd like to do right now is to challenge you that if there's a possibility that maybe you don't have the life of your dreams in every area of your life, that you will try the 4 things I'm going to tell you just as an experiment and see if your life changes. After all, what do you have to lose? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to be very specific about what you want. Edwin Gaines talks about a seminar that she had, and a woman wrote down that she wanted more love in her life, and someone gave her a pregnant dog. Well, she got more love in her life, but it wasn't the kind of love she wanted. So we have to be very specific in what we're asking for. The second thing is we have to truly believe 100% that we deserve or we can achieve what we're going to be treating for, because you cannot fool your subconscious. So let's just take, for example, your income. Let's just say that you verbalize or you assert, you say, that you want to make whatever this. And let's say that the reality is that you're doing this. Well, you can't fool yourself. Whatever you are manifesting in that area is what you truly believe. So if you want to make a shift, you have to change the predominant thoughts in your subconscious mind about that subject. So clearly you wouldn't be treating for this, because if you believed it, that's where you'd be right now. But let's say you're here and you can go here. So you treat for that, and when you accomplish that, then you go to the next step that you can believe. And eventually you will get from here to here. But you can't get it all at one time, because if you believed it, like I say, you would already be manifesting that. The third thing that you have to do is you have to have a reliable way to change the predominant thoughts in your subconscious mind, because that's what you manifest. So something that's very easy that anybody can do is to use mala beads or prayer beads. We have them available out in the lobby. There are 108 beads on every strand. So if 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening you committed to say an affirmation of what you truly believed, you would be putting into your subconscious mind 648 thoughts a day. And the more that you do this, the more days that you do this, the more opportunity you have to actually get to the tipping point where you do change the predominant thoughts in your subconscious mind, and what you're asking for will manifest. It's really critical when you are doing your affirmations that you do it in the present. It's not like someday this is going to happen. It's like right now this is happening. And the last thing that you need to do, and this is critical, is you have to feel the feeling now like you've already achieved it. Ernest Holmes says that the greater the feeling, the quicker the demonstration. So if you do these 4 things, I promise you that you will have the manifestation that you want. And after all, what do you have to lose? I also promise you that all 5 of us practitioners would be thrilled to be your cheerleader on this journey. Thank you.
So do we have a great team or what? Yes. Now, I started this journey years and years ago. I've got to tell you, it's really, really wonderful that Lee and I started this journey when our children were just beginning to be teenagers, because we're all still alive. There were moments that it was a little bit iffy. But now, who we are and the people that we have become and the people my sons have become are people that I enjoy spending time with. I see the good and I see the beauty, I see the joy, I see the absolute connectedness with each and every one of them. And what I know when I look out upon you is that you too have all of that within you. I see the relationship that I have with my husband as deeper than it had ever been when we started this journey. We've now been married 42 and a half years, and I wouldn't change a day, even the ones that weren't so good, because I have that swing of balance that is in the area that I wish to live in now. I see the beauty. I see how we challenge each other. I see how we grow one another. I see how we support one another. And what I recognize more than anything is that love has shown the way. And with that love, that sense of agape, all is well, all is joy, all is peace and harmony. And that is a life worth living now. So let us pray.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.